talked a lot about a new normal, which no one really knows what is, because this is a situation, this is a period where we don't really know what's going to happen. This is also why making forecast in times like this is a bit strange, because we can of course we have an idea what is going to come, because we still have a lot of information and we still work in the same way and use our brains, but to be really honest, no one really knows. But we have a proposal for what is going to come. It has been a special, very special situation, because we are actually for the first time, the whole world has the same situation, which is very, very special. Not in exactly the same time, but more or less. In Asia, you have been a bit ahead of us, but we are catching up, as you can see. Very well so this is a very special situation, because we don't really know. Honestly, we don't know what is going to come. We have hopes, of course, and we also have ideas, and we know that certain things are worked on, but we don't really know. And therefore, in the start of the whole thing, together with a lot of other people, we just decided that we're going to do something we believe in, because following a track that comes out being wrong, and it was something that you didn't even believe you did in what you did, that's a really bad idea. So I decided to go even more all in on sustainability, because this is what I really want to do and really believe in. So this has been even more my focus for this last 8 months or whatever. What we have missed is a physical emotion. The emotion that it was a body emotion when I came into this courtyard and saw this artwork 1.5 years ago. And I remembered it when I found the photo again. But it's an emotion that I could never get from the screen. I'm sure that you in Asia have had less challenges with this very much screen and no physical attachment, because it is part of your culture to be less physical, and you're also much better to do with screens, and your buildings are also very often type of screens. So for that point of view, I think that you have been able to adapt much better than we have. One of the things that just from very, very beginning has been very, for me, a big concern, and actually now we also have a lot of research going on, that the world, the earth, the world is really suffering from this pandemic, not in terms of the pandemic and the disease, but in terms of the climate, because it's true that many less flights, but we heat our homes and we heat the factories the way where we work. We have a lot more going around in private cars, because we don't like the public transportation, but the public transportation are also still going around. So we do a lot of e-shopping, so we have an enormous lot of also shipping. So actually, the CO2 footprint is so much higher than it used to be because of the disease. And what was actually these research has just come now, but even in the beginning here in the northern country, we were in Europe, we were allowed to walk. We could walk, and we walked. And we drank a lot of coffee from disposable cups. So there were mountains of disposable cups and plastic all over, because we don't want to reuse it, also because of the disease. So there was that people were so excited about the blue sky, and they couldn't really care about all these disposable cups they used. So yes, from day one, it has been very bad to the environment also. Making a trend called after COVID is a bit, I mean, everything will be after COVID, and COVID will be something that we refer to before and after for, yeah, I think that for at least for the rest of my life, will be like that. And this is just some reflections, some thoughts that we have had and that we have collected during these months. And I think it's not that I will go through all these post-its, because it's hilarious. I mean, it's you should do it on your own, and then sometimes have a look at it and see if there's something that maybe you should bring up to the top of your mind for this, for today, or for this job, or whatever. There's a few of the post-its, though, I want to draw a bit of attention to, and that's the post-its most connected to our world. It is about how we dress, and we had the dressing in the beginning. We were all in shock, and we just stayed at home, and we just used jogging suits. Very nice. And but after a period, you cannot, I mean, most of us cannot just live our life in jogging suits and baggy jogging trousers. At a certain point, even though you're not going out, even though you're not meeting, going for parties or going out for dinner with other people, you need to dress up. You need to comb your hair. You need to have a feeling of. I think it's a human. It's a human way of being, that we need to look in the mirror and also feel from inside that today I'm good looking because I put on some nice clothes. And actually, the beauty industry has gone up, and if the beauty industry goes up, increase their business, it's bad. Then also apparel must increase their business, apart from all the attention that is on the home, because we are staying more at home. So of course also the home has been experienced an enormous increasing of their business. But so I don't think we should be so worried that that people will use the same jogging suit forever after, or people will buy nice clothes. We only have to convince them that they have to buy long clothes that are good quality, so it lasts for a long time. But that's another thing. And then all sales will be even more value based, and of course I know perfectly well that it is not what is going on in fast fashion, but it is going on in higher fashion, not only high fashion, but also middle fashion, and it will eventually dribble down to fast fashion. It has to be like that. It always worked like that. So we have discussed a lot about seasonless, because in big parts of the world, the seasons are a bit disappearing. In some parts of the world, they've never really been, but they're disappearing, and it means that you cannot launch a new a new collection for spring, for example, because the spring is almost not there. The spring is coming, for example, in Europe, it's coming so late that it's almost high summer when spring weather is coming. And when there's still a winterish feeling, you will not buy spring garments. So what will motivate people to buy? This is a big question, and it will change in the groups of forecasters that I are part of, that I'm part of, we haven't got an answer to it, but we, of course, it's a cool thing that we're discussing a lot. And it's also something that we cannot say just, okay, now we cut all seasons. That's not possible. We have to carry on with the seasons for a period also, because otherwise we might just lose the fashion, and then it's not really any interesting if we just make a forecast that has nothing to do with who actually should bring it into action. So structures, new fabrics, maybe also shapes, but more probably the fabric must have interest. And colors will be more important than ever before, because they will announce a new season. If we still will call it a spring summer season, that is something that the next years will show. But colors will be very visible as a sign of, here we go into a new era. And everybody, even though we don't have seasons, everybody wants some new things sometimes. That's also one of these very human wishes. As we have not made the color card for Lenzing for September, because there were no physical fairs. Well, there were some, but we've just make small color stories for some other clients, and so we have a calm sort of mindfulness, more the Japanese blue and this feeling, all quality. Then we have a light of heart story where we can't think of the disease all the time. We need also to be light at heart. And anyway, this is in 22, so hopefully we will be well over this disease, and we will be light at heart, and we will like to feel that, and also in the colors. And then also that we want to have a good time, because we all want to have a good time, and things are easier if we have a good time. And of course you can't make having a disease a good time, but you can try to do your world as much as a good time as possible, and it just makes your life nicer. So the way we are going to going to talk about colors, and this is actually what we have already done. Just a second, just want to see. We did it for Lenzing. We did it first time summer 21, and this is having a palette of long-term colors, and then have some key colors, which are the new one. It's a hat, it's a shoes, it's a shirt, and these colors, the long-term colors, there will be, of course, be a new palette of long-term colors every season, but they will blend in, and these are the colors that you always have in your wardrobe, and then you spice them up with having few new things in key colors, and then the rest you will have in long-term colors, which will be beautiful. And you will have a nice palette where everything fits in, and this is important. Everything have to fit in, because you will have your things for a long time. Bad quality should go away. When it's going to go away, we don't know, but it's very important that we work for good quality. That's the most important thing. So this is what I think is important for the future. We will have a holistic approach to sustainability. We will have what we do now will be a design for the next generation. We cannot permit ourselves to do something that is only for the next season. If we have to design things that in design and in quality are valid for many years, and when you don't want to use it anymore because now you're fed up with it, the quality should be is so good, and the garment is still so good, so you pass it on to to the next person. So now I will start showing some fabrics. I want to first to say that this presentation, it's only, as I said before, it's only highlights, so it's the videos of the backgrounds. And these fabrics are already existing fabrics, so these are not what you are going to do. It's just like every other trend information. We always base on something that we have, and then we develop from there. So all these fabrics, they are inspiration for new collections. So yeah, we will have, of course, we are talking we are talking summer, because of all the screens and the lack of human contact. We will need to have just a second. That's something I just have to be better. Yeah. We will need the small imperfections of. We will need the small imperfections, which some are familiar to our skin, and so something like small slops, which gives this imperfection surface, and very light. I think that there will be Lenzing fiber will be very good in combinations with, for example, a little bit of cotton, a little bit of linen, but not it. I don't even think it will be 50-50. I think it will be more Lenzing fibers and less other natural fibers. Here is absolutely perfect thing for also for pure Lenzing fibers. It's this silky luxury. We will really need a lot of luxury. We will want also to be caressed by our garments, because the caressing, I mean, of course we're not being caressed by everybody in the street, but we need this. We need this feeling on our skin. Then also, of course, we also want to have design. And this is some whole design, see-through design. It could also be like broderie anglaise or some in this area. We cannot, for moral and sustainable reasons, do dévoré or fil coupé, but there's a lot of other ways of getting around and doing these more intrigued patterns. If I was to say one word about this season, interest fabric. That is the most important, because we need, we will have the garments for many years, and therefore we will have things have to be interesting. I mean, if you don't buy something for which you know that you need to have for a long time, and then it's not interesting. I mean, that's obvious. So here we have rib. Rib is very good. Rib is also good because it adds elasticity without blending with other fibers, which is good. We also have something like a more more elaborated. It's not a rib really, but it's a more elaborated stripe. So again, interest. Here we have another fabric where we work with ripstop, which is a technical performance, and it's technical. It's not done with mixing of materials, but it's done actually physically, that you do it in the technique of making the fabrics. And this is important, that you could sort of try to keep your material as clean as possible. You can use it, of course, both inside and outside. Then we have a series of yarn dyes, and this is also, as you can see, rib, and then the stripes is made from a fabric, from a yarn, just changing yarn, changing color the whole way through, and so it's very random, but it's of an enormous effect. And I will show you more also in the wovens, because this is something I believe strongly in, that we have this. It gives also a depth to the fabric, and it gives an interest to the fabric, which is very important. We have also always talked, I have talked a lot about melange, and this is a very special melange. It's also quite a special fabric technique. It's a Japanese brand, and it actually has a little bit of the classic flannel, classic weaves, classic aspects will be very important, because it also gives us an idea of stability, and something that lasts for a long time, and that the world is not as bad as it seems to be. And this is another one. It's a printed stripe, but the stripe is made out of small stripes, and this makes it jazzes up the stripe. So this is important. Jazz up, makes more interesting. Just not a stripe, but do something to make things more interesting. It has to capture. Also, to not drown in the masses of clothes that is there, but really it has to capture people's interest. This is a stripe. It's a stripe I always loved a lot, because cutting it in another way, it is a very big report, and but then cutting it in another way, it just adds interest to this thing. And this type of these sort of trying to do something, but really not being that work on what you have to add interest. Always be, is this something that I think is interesting in 5 years? This one, yes, it is. This one. Now we are up to Halloween. It's very Halloweenish. It's also very dangerous. I mean, a shirt like this with this long, it's never going to happen. But it's a new, and it's an interesting take on the fil coupe, without and using the floating threads as a part of the design. I think that things like that with these long floating is never going to happen. But here in these small areas, it adds to, because it gives it a double layer. And it could be, this looks like it's something after a fight or a war, but I mean, it could be done also in a nice pattern, but it's just an interesting way of trying to addressing, because we like, it's always interesting to having see-through next to something that is compact. So it doesn't have to be like this, but I think it could be an interesting way of addressing this. Then we have the fancy at the end, and these. This is a slinky, and it has this very, it's a fantastic drapey material. You can really play around with this, and yeah, this fancy and really a party, really volume. It's more than lighthearted. It's really something that makes you walk faster and makes you dance. So this surface it's an interesting surface, and it has a very interesting drape. Pleats, also in the woven, we will have more pleats. Pleats is a fantastic way of absorbing a lot of volume in a piece of fabric, and that is interesting. It's interesting to play with, and again, it's something that really makes you want to dance in a fabric like this. Here, I mean, to make plates, you need to add a good part of some synthetic, so you can steam it or heat it. But still, you can also try to make examples in pure. Try to see if you can develop in pure tensile fibers. That could be very interesting. As I see it, there's a lot to do for tensile, because the tensile or all the other Lenzing fibers, they have a lot to do in. They have a lot to offer in terms of handle and shape and drape. So this is also a it's a false rib, you could say. It's actually it's a jacquard, but it has this feeling of a moved surface. Again, surface, interesting. This is really what it's all about. And then so this looks like almost normal, but then when you look into it, it's much more interesting than a common rib. And the last thing I have is in the jersey. It is rib. It's a straightforward rib, but then it's done in crepe yarn, and this gives this papery feel. And this is so this is it gives it another feel, and it and the crepe also adds to the elasticity. So this is very very nice as this papery feel, and with the crepe, so you can even use the Lenzing fibers, but give it a crepe crepe yarn. You have a papery feeling that you don't have normally. Good. Going to woven, again we have very classic stuff. Again, classic is very important. And these are these batistes, and we have, this is not batiste, this is a very this is a typical sorry for using the word viscose with a peach finishing, and this is something that is very nice. It's very classic. It's very it's about roots, and it's something that it's also classy. This is not this is also a cultural thing. It shows culture. It shows that the client has culture, and also the batiste. These very simple, but they are so in a way they are so heavy with culture and history. So this is also what the signal you send when you use these garments. We have also still for the summer summer shirts, cheese plain cheese fabric. Anyway, this is not cheese fabric, but it's quite open. It's a little bit irregular, and it's very nice, and it has this irregularity like our skin, and it's just fantastic fabrics for. So a linen tensile version of this fabric for shirts and for dresses, for everything. I mean, it's something you could just do a whole summer collection out of. And we already have here the crepe yarns with the pleats. And this is also something that is very interesting. It's very, it's again something that really makes you, it gives a lot of volume, and it makes you happy to wear it. This would be the woven, the woven ripstop, the woven edition of the jersey I showed before. And again, if you could do mechanical solutions to some of the performances, it would be very good to clean, to keep mixing too much materials. Then we have a large group with about colors on in yarns, because yarn dye will be important. Yarn dye is also something that shows class, shows that this is also expensive. It shows a certain knowledge. This is a yarn that is just twisted from many colors. Here we have an uneven dyed yarn, and also irregular yarn dye and irregular yarn, which is also a way of moving the surface in a quite simple way. Here we have, just like the fabric the jersey I showed there, where with the yarn that changes colors. This is another way, another take on this, where you have a lot of colors together. You have a stripe, but you have a lot made out of many colors, and that makes it more than just a normal stripe. It is a no-brainer, but it gives an enormous effect. Also here we have yarn which is dyed and changes color in the long run. Also this, I mean, it's very simple to do. It's just a question of doing yarn dye. Here, this is the Japanese ikat, and this is a real ikat, an archive piece. And these things you could also obtain with a printed warp. Ikat is what we industrially would call space dyed. But this is dyed in a very complicated way. But this type of pattern, which is very, very, very sophisticated, that would also be something, if you can find a way of doing it, of course, in an industrial way. I just want to show you one thing, because it could also be a yarn in black and white, and then you could over dye the white, and this would be perfect also to do with mural black as the black part, and then you can have then you can dye the other part of the fabric of the yarn. The summer tweed that we also been thinking about, and again here we have a yarn that shift the color, change color. We have the structure, and putting the color and the structure together, then it becomes a very interesting surface, much more than only the structure and only the yarn. We haven't talked a lot about, we haven't come across a lot of denim. If it's because there's been a lot of homework, working home, I don't know. But the fact is that we have had quite few information about denim. So, of course, denim is not going away. It's just that it is, we don't do a lot of, it has not been on a highlight. I show to use this, have chosen to show you this piece because it is again back to the idea of changing the colors of the yarn, and it's playing with denim structure, denim aspect, and with multicolored yarn, which could also be a new take on it. These hard, really beaten, dense cottons, which could be blending the cotton with a Lenzing fiber, gives it a smoother handle, which is nice. And but also here adding textures to the yarn, textures to the weave, instead of just having a plain diagonal. It also moves it and makes it more interesting. Very classic fabric. Again, it's a classic herringbone. This has a very nice feel, and so this is also making things interesting, and also using some of the classic weaves, which I think is very very important to use them, and use them in new fiber contests. So that adds the new life to it. We have also a lot of squares as checks mattress, and this seems to be quite a normal mattress, but if you look close to it, then it's actually a jacquard. So having this second layer that you can explore, that it's okay, this is a mattress, maybe it's more than a mattress. That's also an interesting point of when you develop fabrics. Again, interest. So the last part, which is here, also the fancy. Here we have shiny. We have in Italian it's cangiante, and I think that we over the years have found out that Jean would be okay as an Asian way of saying this, but all the way or iridescent. But having two colors in shiny yarns and then combine them, then you have this. If, for example, you do it with a red and a green, then you have fantastic color movements. This I took, I have taken because it's also, it has a little bit of denim take to it, even though it's absolutely not a denim look, but it has this sort of roots to it connects to the denim story. So, and again, pleats, please. Yeah, pleats, please, sorry. Pleats again, and here we have, it's printed pleats. And I think that we will have a lot of prints also, but as not so much just flat print on a flat fabric. There will be playing around like this, or like with the printed yarns. Drapey. Drapey thinks this is a double fabric. Of course, it's always interesting to have fabrics you can use on both sides, but drape is very important. It's also something that has to do, it gives you this feeling of a richness, of a luxury feeling. And the very end, we have crepe yarns, because crepe is very nice for summer. It's nice for warm weather, and using a crepe yarn, tensile fiber, with a crepe twist and then in a crepe weave structure, then you get this very nice and natural feel fabric. This is a print of an Ekant, but it's printed, and it's printed on a crepe surface, and that also adds to the two thing together, makes it more interesting than a flat print or a crepe fabric on its own. So really moving fabrics, interesting surfaces, and think on whatever you do, is this something that I will find interesting in 5 years? Of course you can't answer that question perfectly, but you can see though, okay, this is not something that I will be fed up with in few months. So this is what I had fabric wise. And any questions? I can see there's a lot of chats and stuff like that, but I don't really know how.
Well, this is Judy, and thank you, Marie. Your presentation is good, and I got some questions from the audience. They say they wonder when of a woven fabric, whether it's a pleat one. So I think yes, they are the pleat woven. We just typing a reply to them, and that's a conversation. They're asking for the video, and we are saying we will send over that afterward. Some of them we are send them already, but some of friends they might come from China area. Then we save the video in YouTube. We will try to save another, apps, then send over again. So I just try to let you know what's the conversation about when you are present the fabrics. So is anyone got a question or comment regarding Marine's transplantation or something? So Marie, if you can give us some like a takeout where you will suggest like how because now because of COVID-19, everybody is quite suffering and they don't know what they need to do for the future. So, maybe you have any suggestion from you?
Yeah, I think that as I've said several times during the presentation, I think it's important to do things you believe in. I think it's important to do stuff you think will last for a long time. I have several friends and other people I know with smaller fashion brands or with shops, and they thought they were at the beginning. They thought they had to cancel their orders, but they ended up ordering more and more and more because they had good quality, and people could see that it was good quality. And not only that the quality was good, but they could also see that these were things that they would have for a long time. They said, this is expensive, but I know that we will have it I will have this pair of trousers or whatever for a long time. And I have seen it. I mean, I haven't talked to everybody, but I have seen that this has been everything is this period. So there was also already this sort of wave going on with sustainable and buying better garments and buying less. But this pandemic has accelerated what was already going on, and this is I think that is the most important thing. That is nothing new, but it's just become very much more important in a very short time. So quality and longevity are the most important, and then also because it gives people a feeling of, for first, a feeling of that this world, and we will live, and therefore it's also a good idea to it's not waste of money to buy expensive clothes, because we will use them. We will not in very short time not use them anymore. And so this is important, and it's also important to give this feeling of I think it's also important to give this feeling of roots from behind, from back, from a long culture we are standing on the shoulders of, because it's heavy. It's a disaster. So many people, don't even want to talk about all this, but it is a fairly small window
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
in our lifetime. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that we can also give that security to people, that, and this security you also have in your clothes, using fabrics and classic weaves and classic qualities. It sort of indulge you this feeling of being a part of a very, very big thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So
So
Marie, yeah. So as far as I know, the fabric just show us is like inspire people, but not really using any Lenin's fiber or some of them only, right? It's
no,
more like a
I don't know even if there is any Lenzing fibers. No.
yes.
I have said many times that all these touches with natural fiber, using the combination with Lenzing fiber, the touch will be very, very nice, and the Lenzing fiber will add to this natural look, but it will give it more. It will be nicer. It will be a nicer touch. It will also be nicer to wear, because it will be less
Mm-hmm.
stiff. It will adjust to your body in another way. So I think that apart from the fantastic sustainable story that Lenzing have, and Caroline will tell in a second, then because I have heard it, so I know it's fantastic. I heard it in a webinar. I
You will
really
be
love
my next seminar too, you know?
it. And because of that, I think that Lenzing has really has a very, very good opportunity just now, because blending with the other natural fibers as cotton and linen and hemp and kapok or whatever, will give them this nice aspect that we also need. We want to show the dense cotton fabric from the workers, but we also want it to be nice to wear. And therefore,
Mm-hmm.
there the blend with a tensile with a lentil fiber, it's perfect.